Hello learners, today we are going to deal with the concept of listening and speaking. So when we say listening and speaking, what do we understand by the whole process? These are two things which go in tandem with each other. Listening and speaking are part of single process. When we are speaking something, then also we are listening to ourselves. Sometimes when we are only listening, for example, when we are listening to music or to news on the radio or television, so then we are listening. But then the process of listening doesn't mean that we'll be able to repeat the same thing as it is. So because there is something called as understanding, which takes place when we are listening. So what is it to understand? Understand means when we comprehend, decode the words and the phrases which have been said, and the second process is actually relating that information or what is being said to our prior life experiences, and that is how we contextualize it and make meaning out of it. In order to learn language, when we cannot look at these skills separately, they are mutually dependent. Whenever we are thinking, so we think in a certain language. This has always been a question that whether we require language for thinking or not. It still has not been answered. But whenever we have a certain, it's kind of a tool which we use for thinking. It's a tool for understanding. Language is a tool for thinking, language is a tool for understanding, language is a tool for conceptualization. We usually define language as a means of communication. We often forget that it is also a means to feel, react to things. Like for example, if we say aha, it is a certain emotion which this word invokes. Oh shit, oh I'm really sorry. So these are the words which invoke certain emotions. So we react to things through language. This is the wider use of language, which is extremely important in case of young children, as it plays a formative role in development of child's personality and abilities. So the way we interact with the child, so that gives the exposure to the child. It gives exposure to the child in a form of the language, verbatim, and everything. So if we are telling the child time and again that he'll not be able to do something, that he is just a failure. So that kind of these words form an image in the child. So the use of positive words, or reinforcement actually helps develop child's personality. It shapes child's perception of the world. For example, if we say, oh, this is a beautiful place, and while we are looking at that, the child would also form the image of this place as beautiful, something which is good to see at. And if we have a negative view of looking at a thing, like for example, if there is a cow passing on the road and we just say that it's such a mess, then these are creating a menace on the road. So the child would look at the cow or cow passing on the road as a menace, and in the same situation we react and we say that, oh, the cow should move, otherwise it will get hurt. It will sensitize the child towards the cow, and though it will reflect that the cow should not be on the road, but it will not give a negative image. So that is how the child's perception of the world is formed through the use of words. In young age, action and word go hand in hand. For example, that's why it is always said that we should start language from the use of words which are more action oriented. For example, if we say let's go out, let's play. So all these words have a particular action related to it. Let's sing a song, get up, take a chalk, write on the board. All these words have an equivalent action related to it. So it becomes easier for the child to comprehend the meaning of these words, as a child is able to relate or attach a physical meaning to it, because these are the things that the child can perform. Okay, now if we need to understand the process of listening. So the first thing that we need to understand, that there is a difference between hearing and listening. We tend to listen, we listen when we comprehend. We tend to hear a lot of sounds. So the perception of sound is something that we refer to as hearing. Till the time we are not able to attach a certain meaning to it, it doesn't become listening. For example, we hear a lot of sounds like starting of a machine, chirping of birds, flowing of water. Some sounds are soothing and some are irritating, but these are the sounds that we hear. The act of listening essentially includes meaning. while we are having a conversation, listener has to instantly make sense of that conversation. Why? Because the listener has to comprehend what is being told or said to him, then make meaning out of it and then respond. That is how the conversation would take place. That is why we need to understand what is being said. Otherwise, the conversation loop would break. So, what is this whole process? The process involves the first stages of decoding. Decoding what is being said, the words which have been said, the phrases which have been said, the clauses and the text. For this, the learner needs to be aware of two things. First is the arrangement of the text and the vocabulary, the pattern in which these words will appear. And for example, if you are telling your friend, route to your own house, you say, take a right on the 3rd street from the city center, keep going straight, then take left into the lane which houses community hall, the 3rd house in the lane is mine. So, this whole process, when you are telling the route, your friend should be able to decode and break these phrases into small sentences, and for this probably he'll keep on or she'll keep on repeating these instruction in his, her or mind. That's called like verbatim or inner speech would be there. So, in this process the complete attention is on the dialogue or what is being said, because that would help him or her to get the directions to your home. So, the person is able to recognize the fragments of phrases and to understand the relationship between the various phrases or segments of the sentence. In order to understand the statement, it is important for the listener to be well versed with the structure and the vocabulary. So, it requires a consistent practice to listen to the sentence carefully, to recognize the key words, to understand the grammatical relation between the key words and sentence, to understand the relevance of stress. For example, if I say, don't dare you do it. So, basically this emphasis on don't actually makes the whole sentence more clear. Don't do it, no. So, it is more like when we are saying, okay, if you want to do it, do it. So, there is a relationship between the way you produce a certain sentence, where you put the stress, where you unstress. This is like the whole rhythm of the sentence helps in meaning making. So, the second way in which we make the firstly is by understanding the pattern, sentence and the phrases, the grammatical understanding of the sentence, the understanding of stresses, rhythm of the sentence. The second way in which we make meaning is by relating what is being said to our prior knowledge or our prior experiences. So, for example, if we just listen to this news, last night a furious earthquake hit China. So, the single sentence does not say anything about what is earthquake, but already having an exposure to the concept of earthquake, we'll have many questions in our mind. For example, how intense was the earthquake, how many people died or were injured, or what was how intense was the earthquake, or what relief work is being carried out. We are able to ask these questions to ourselves because we are already well versed with the concept of earthquake, and that is why we are able to decipher and understand the meaning of sentence in spite of the minimum information given. If a listener is unable to understand the meaning through this process, then either the dialogue is incomplete or she does not have any previous knowledge about the earthquake. That is why we emphasize on using of contextual text for reading in early grades, because then the children don't have to go through that process of double deciphering. They'll not have to decipher the context of the text, they'll just have to work with the language. So, it makes this whole process of reading more enjoyable, and this whole activity of learning language, it doesn't become a burden for them, it is more a joyous process, because they are able to understand and connect their real life experiences to what is being told to them. To make sense of the conversation based on the keywords, so as a good listener, we should be able to raise fundamental questions. We should be able to establish a cause and effect relationship, estimate the details, which are like the unsaid details of the situation. Both these processes of understanding the grammatical structure in phrases and understanding of the meaning go hand in hand. The responsibility of deciding the extent to which each process will be used will depend on how familiar the listener is with what is being talked about. Sometimes, like if we are already well versed with the concept, the meaning making would take place through our prior experiences, then we will depend less on the structure of the sentence. But in case we are new to the process, or we are new to the experience or what is being said, and we do not have anything to fall back onto, then it would be the structure and the grammar and the rhythm and stress of the sentence which will help us in meaning making. Then we come to the second part of the process. What is speaking? Speaking does not mean mere pronunciation of sounds, words and sentences. While speaking, we are simultaneously involved in many processes. See, what are these processes? Whatever we are supposed to say, we frame that sentence in our mind. We think, is it right to say, is it right time to say, is it right to say or phrase it in this particular manner? What should be our non-verbal cues? These all things go in our mind before we actually say or utter the sentence out. Before speaking, we plan in our mind so as to what should be speak, such that listener understands what we are saying. We also make up our mind about what and how to speak depending on who we are speaking. For example, if we are talking to our father or grandfather, and the way we talk to our friend are entirely different, because the equation that we have with these people determine our speech and our way, or way of our talk, our assertion. We might speak with our father in a certain manner, that manner which requires a certain kind of a respect, and it might be like, for example, if we are seeking for a permission to go to a picnic, then our tone, the words, like it will definitely use the word please in our utterance. But in the same way, if we are talking to our friend about the same picnic, it would be more about, the content would be more about like, what did you feel when you were seeking permission from your father, and you can with your friend it would be like mere assertion that I wanted to go and I'm just so happy with it. But in case of your father, you would be telling that how important is it for you to go to that picnic for some different reasons. Enjoyment could be one of it, but the tone and the tenor that you will use would be entirely different. While speaking, it is very important to select the right words along with the grammatical structure which expresses your thoughts and feeling. In Hindi, a sentence structure is subject, object and verb. Even before speaking during the phrase, we plan the structure. Is it correctly formed, and or there is any confusion about it? That is why we have this problem that when we use a translation method, so students actually tend to translate the expression directly from Hindi to English without changing the structure. So that is what comes as a mistake, which is not a mistake but a developmental phase of second language learning. So voice modulation, where to take pause, the rhythm, the tone, everything plays a very important role in conveying the meaning that we intend to. For example, if we say the sentence pakdo, mat jane do. So pakdo, we have stressed on the word pakdo, and then we have added the predicate mat jane do, which means stop, don't let him go or don't let her go. Otherwise, if we say pakdo mat jane do, then the stress has been on jane do. So it is like pakdo mat, don't hold, let him go. So where we stress actually changes the whole meaning of the sentence. Similarly, while speaking, if we emphasize or pronounce a word in a different rhythm, then the impact also changes the meaning of it. Ye school hai. So ye school hai is more of an assertion that we are gesturing, or we are saying, or we are expressing that this is a school. If we say ye school hai, so then it is more of a question, that what is the condition. We are actually questioning the condition. So the above statement can be a question, can be expressing surprise, can be expressing sarcasm, and can simply stating a fact depending on its rhythm. At the same time, the usage of non-verbal signals like gestures, expression influence the meaning and speaking. So today what we did was like, we understood the concept of listening and speaking, the relation between the two, how these processes are part of, how both listening and speaking are parallel processes and they are not disintegrated. But the problem lies that we don't tend to use listening and speaking often in our classrooms. So we need to create more situations in classroom where we actually engage students in the activities of listening and speaking. That can be done in various ways. It can be through use of talk in classroom, through use of storytelling, role play, drama, and just pure dialogue or discussion. Learners, for now, I'll end this lecture here. In the next lecture, we'll dwell on the concepts of how we can bring listening and speaking into our classroom. That could be through role play, drama, storytelling, dialogue, or a simple talk about various objects around in our environment and about ourselves. For now, I would just say thank you and look forward to see you in the next lecture. Thank you.